What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to G-Ball Vision. Today I have for you guys the fourth matchup in the first round of our March Madness Knife Edition. We have a good one for you guys today, I have to believe. We have the Kubey Bluff going up against the Remette Rhino. Before we get started, double check and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I would love to have you here. And before you head out, hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it. And any comments, questions, concerns, input that you would like to add in along the way or at the end, feel free to do so down in the comment section. We are going to have our normal run-of-the-mill 11 categories, with the tiebreaker being the better work and EDC knife. We have materials, price, value, cutting, ergonomics, carry, aesthetics, action, sounds, fidget, and then like I said, the tiebreaker will be the better EDC and work knife. Of course, these are my opinions, guys. I keep myself out of it as much as possible, other than my feeling at this very moment. The very first matchup, we had the Task against the Sacra. The Sacra did come out on top of that one. We also had the Sakoki go up against the Corgi in a very close one as well. The Sakoki pulled that one out. And then you should be seeing this video as I am recording this today. The Valona and the Penguin went up against each other, and the Valona edged out the Penguin in a pretty good fight there. And now we have the Kubey Bluff going up against the Rhino button lock. We will be circling back around to the top left here after this one, in the CJRB Frac will go up against the SRM 255, which should be a very good one, and they will take on the Sacra. I do have in the community post of my channel section there, the community section, you can get a blown up view of this if you are interested in seeing all the various matchups. So let's get started with this one, guys. This is going to be a very interesting one. Now, this is the number 4 taking on the number 29. And as I've said before, those numbers and the seeding, guys, were just so I could keep track and order of things. I don't necessarily think the Kubey Bluff is number 4 out of all 32 knives, and I don't necessarily think the Remette Rhino is number 29 out of all the knives. It was just a way for me to keep track. Of course, we had to do it that way in order to have this competition. I made the bracket, I put the numbers in, and then I just filled knives in as I went. Tried to keep things spread out so we didn't have the same company, you know, in the same section multiple times. So I tried to just break things up, split things up, and put knives in that I thought would compete well. We're going to use our Lynch Northwest Tactile Turn Collab side click mini pen here for this one. Each category is worth 1 point. We will total up the points at the end, and that will give us our winner. So we have materials as our first category. Let's start with the Bluff here. We have a high polished sandblasted drop point blade coming in 14C28N. We have a cutout and fuller. We also have an adjustable crossbar lock for our locking mechanism. We have textured G10 handles here, open construction, weight relief internally, and then we have a nice redesigned deep carry clip from Kubey, and this will be reversible for our lefty brothers out there. Then we have a blackwash PVD style coating on this drop point. We have a cutout, and we have thumb studs along with a front flipper for deployment. This guy is also going to be coming in 14C28N, if I can find it. I'm not sure. There it is. 14C28N as well on this guy. And then we have micarta, and we have a micarta backspacer there. We have a deep carry clip, and this will not be reversible. So based on materials, guys, I don't think one costs more than the other as far as G10 and micarta. And then we have the same blade steel. I'm going to give them a tie for the materials just because. So because I prefer typically micarta over G10 does not necessarily mean micarta is a better handle material. that I do prefer micarta, but that's a way I take myself out of it. G10 and micarta are very equivalent when it comes to, you know, their price range. So let's move into price. For the Kubey Bluff, we're coming in about $60, and that was about the lowest I could find it. We also have the Remette Rhino coming in right around $55, and that was the lowest I could find that. So based on the price, based on the materials, I'm going to give the nod to the Remette Rhino there. As far as value is concerned, guys, this has been a tough one. I've had some people asking questions or making statements like, that other knife was a little bit bigger, so that one, you know, should have cost more money. Well, that's not the case, guys. That's not how that works. Why do you think a 5.5 inch, 6 inch Pena costs $350, but a 7.5 inch God of Mischief, you know, from Renegade costs $300, which is several inches bigger? You know, price cannot be based on just the size of the knife. You cannot limit the knife based on just the size. So just because something is a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller does not mean, you know, it should be a little cheaper or it should be a little more expensive. That's not how that works at all. So, you know, for the people who think that, you might as well just throw that out the window. So going back to the value side of things, that is a tough one to judge on these very affordable, very accessible budget knives. Value placed on these knives is kind of tough, right? But with that being said, in my searches, the Remette Rhino, easy to pick up. Comes right up on Amazon. I can get this anytime. The Kubey Bluff, however, is out of stock on Kubey's website. It's out of stock on White Mountain Knives, and I could not find it anywhere in stock. So I'm going to place the value a little bit higher on the Kubey Bluff, guys. That's typically how, you know, if we have two knives going head to head that are more premium and the secondary market dictates one is a little bit, you know, holds its value a little bit more, or it's a little bit more expensive, or what have you, that's how we kind of dictate the value in those situations. But with this, we can't really do that. But if there's one that is sold out and very hard to get, we can place a little bit more value on that side. So next up, we have cutting. We will use the same media here to cut, and then that way we can kind of get a good feel for, you know, how that edge is doing. And this is going to be very thin telephone book paper, which can prove to be troublesome for some knives. They're a little thicker behind the edge, but they're still sharp, you know, that can sometimes prove to be an issue. We will move the cardboard if it is a little bit tougher to decide. We've had some ties in this category, but we have also had some move on that are definitely a lot sharper. So we'll go on to the Bluff here. The Remette kind of, I wouldn't say struggled, but it didn't do the best with this telephone book paper. But the cardboard can be a good kind of secondary material to cut and really find out, hey, this has an actual good edge on it. I think these are both a little bit thicker behind the edge. It seems like the Kubey is cutting a little bit better. And I have to say, guys, these both pretty much have they both have the factory edges, and they both have very little use on them currently. So we just have a double-walled piece of cardboard here, and let's see if we can get any more intel based on this here. So we have the Remette Rhino up, and see, it's doing quite a bit better on the cardboard. Little bit of struggle, a little bit of, not a struggle, but a little bit of hesitation there. We are running into tape at this point, and we'll end it there, and we'll start the Kubey Bluff in that same tape there. And let's see if we feel any difference. Yeah, I thought the Bluff felt like it had a little better edge, and this could be very, this could dictate from one knife to the next as far as, the next Rhino that, went to somebody else could be even sharper than this. But between the two knives that I have in my hand right now, I think I'm comfortable in saying that the Kubey Bluff does have just a touch better edge than the Remette Rhino. So we will go ahead and we'll give a point to the Bluff there, and we will give 0. So we got a 3-2 lead going to the Bluff. Next up is going to be ergonomics. The cutting, ergos, carry, those are going to be the functional aspects of the knife, really. Ergonomics, of course, guys, your hand is going to be different than my hand. My hand will be different than your hand. This is going to be based on what I feel in my hand. So, the Remette Rhino is a fairly comfortable knife in hand, and I have to say, especially in this more choked back grip, it is very comfortable. And then as you climb up here into this flat, it is pretty comfortable. Don't really feel the pocket clip a whole lot. As far as the Bluff goes here, this is a very comfortable knife, guys, especially in my hand, and I'm able to work up right behind the edge just like the Rhino there, very comfortably, and I don't feel the pocket clip in hand at all. So that's a testament to how comfortable this knife really is. But I can say in all fairness that I think the Rhino, they are very similar. If you look at the handles here, guys, they are very, very similar. There's a couple little differences, but not a lot. They're very similar. They have this little flat right before you get to the choil there. And then this has a little bit of a chamfer going here for the studs, but it's very similar, and then it kind of straightens out where the Rhino kind of has this coffin end down here. But I don't really think that makes a whole lot of difference. So I am going to give these a tie on the ergonomics section because they are very similar in their ergos. So next up is going to be their carry. And I had someone after the first match ask if I could weigh them. That way we kind of just not only are going off their profile, but we're also getting their weight, which I find, I try to keep these as quick as possible, but it is kind of what it is at the end of the day, working and talking through each category. So we're coming in at 3.7 for the Rhino, which is a fairly hefty boy. And then we're coming in about 3.4, 3.5 also for the Bluff. So we'll double check 3.7 and 3.4. We getting the 5 or no? Doesn't feel like it. So 3.4 to 3.7 there on both of these guys. Now we do the button lock, this should be told for left-hand carry, and I'm going to knock that there a little bit. Not only that, but the profile of the Bluff is a little bit more slim, if you will, than the Rhino. They are about the same length overall. And I also have to say I prefer the pocket clip of the Kubey Bluff here. Although they are kind of similar, the Kubey Bluff clip seems to feel better in hand. It also seems to go in and out of the pocket a little bit better. Has just a little bit higher lip on it than this guy does. I'm going to give, not only is the Rhino a little bit heavier, but it's just a little bit bulkier and just a little bit thicker as well. You can see there also it's a little bit thicker, it's a little bit wider, taller, heavier. So I'm going to give the nod, and you can't carry it lefty. So I'm going to give the nod fairly easily there to the Kubey Bluff. As far as aesthetics, it's like I always say, guys, it's going to be in the eyes of the beholder here. They are both fine looking knives. Both very well thought out knives. I love that this is a button actuated liner lock, and I love that this is an adjustable crossbar lock. They both look very good. I'm going to, I don't like giving ties unless we absolutely have to. We've already had 2 ties. I could really give this one a tie in a sense, but as far as the cleaner looking design, the better aesthetically looking knife, I feel like the Kubey Bluff is just the cleaner looking design out of both of these. This is a Bridgeport collaboration as well with Kubey. Very clean, very good looking knife. The Remette Rhino is not far behind, but it just feels like and looks like the Kubey Bluff is just a little bit better looking, whether we're talking about the closed profile or the open profile. I feel like, the Bluff is just a little bit of a better looking design. Feel free to disagree, and if it ends up making a difference at the end, we can readjust things. But let's just see how this plays out here. Now we're going into action, and this might be where the Bluff kind of runs into some trouble here. The action on the Remette Rhino is very good, very easy to fling this guy open, and then with the push of a button, this thing is dropping shut. It is a liner lock, but it is actuated by the button there. So very good action on this thing. Both have ball bearings, both have ceramic detent balls. So they're both going to have, very good action. But I don't know. The Bluff has very good crossbar action. It's very tight tolerances. It has very tight tolerances. It has very good crossbar lock action. It's not quite that crossbar lock action you would expect, I would say, because some of them are very, very fluid. And this is as well, but it's not that loosey-goosey crossbar lock action. It's very controlled, very smooth and clean action. You can see there that most crossbar locks will just fall closed real quick. This has just a nice controlled action all the way down, and you could mark that as a positive. Man, that's tough action. This does come out with a little bit more authority. I'm going to give the nod to the Remette Rhino, and I mean by just the smallest of margins here. We're going into sounds. So I'll be quiet. Here's the Remette Rhino going open, going closed, going open, going closed. Here is the Kubey Bluff going open, going closed, going open, going closed. Sounds like a typical crossbar lock. The Rhino does have better sounds, guys. It just does. The better fidget knife. So this is going to be very, very subjective because they all are. But this is very subjective. The Rhino is very fidgety, guys. But so is the Kubey Bluff here. Now, the Rhino has not only the thumb studs, but it has the cutout. It also has the front flipper tab. I'm going to give the better fidget knife to the Rhino. We have to be fair, and that is how we will do it. So, the better work knife, guys, I'm already going to say it. It's going to the Bluff. It's a crossbar against a knife that has already failed. Now, I have fixed this knife, and it does have solid lockup. But just, had this not failed and, been solid right out of the box, I could give it a tie, I suppose, because it is a liner. But in my experience, guys, all the lock testing that I have done, crossbar locks have proven to be a very, very strong lock, especially when they're done properly. I have 2 Bluffs, and they are both solid as can be, and all the other crossbar locks that I have tested have all been solid as well. And that's one thing I really consider when we're talking about the better EDC and work knife, something that has a very reliable lock. And not only does this have a very reliable lock, it has very good ergonomics, it carries very well, and it has a hell of a good blade shape on it with a very good edge as well. I'm going to give the nod to the Kubey Bluff here, guys, as far as the better work, better EDC knife. Now, let's tally these up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the Kubey Bluff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the Rhino. That is going to put the Bluff in the winner's seat there, guys. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you agree. I will also put a poll out and make sure everyone agrees or disagrees. But we will move the Bluff, guys, here to the winner's circle of that round. And that will take on either the Kaiser Bugai or the Mini Beluga in that second round. We have a bunch of great matchups coming up. The off-grid Stinger EDC going up against the Raccoon crossbar lock. We have the Cubic going up against the Baglighter SRM 77-288 going up against the Pyrite Warney. We also have the Curex going up against the Enforcer, the Cryo from Concept going up against the Victor, and that'll take on the Sakoki. Frack versus SRM 255. We have the Moyero crossbar lock going up against the Bull Tusk. The Echo liner lock going up against the Kaiser Ka. We have the off-grid Rhino taking on the Nightshade. And then we have the Miguron Centurion taking the Vision on. The Columba going up against the Main Street. We have a lot of good matchups coming up, guys. And I'm pretty excited. And as we work into that second round, into that third round, we're going to have some very, very exciting matchups coming up. And we already have in this very first round. We've had some upsets. We've had some knives kind of kick some ass, and then we've had some very close ones like this one, 7-6. Can't get much closer than that. Hey, hit the subscribe button. Let me know if you enjoy this series. That'll let me know if we're going to do it again next year. Really appreciate your guys' input. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Greatly appreciate that as well. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way you can follow along with the competition. That way you can get all my daily uploads. You know, it's just a great place to be. It's the best place in the knife world to be. There's nowhere else you would rather be. Trust me. Trust me. Love you guys. And I will catch you on the next one.